Hello, my name is Amber. Welcome to my creative space. Today I'll be talking about my Tunisian crochet blanket and the fact that I finished joining all the squares together and now I'm moving on to the border. So let's talk about it. So here we are, it's all joined together and I have all these really long ends because that's what the video about joining told me to do, and I'm like, what in the world do I do with these ends now? My first step for joining, I believe, is going to be going around the whole thing in just single crochet, just to give me a base to decide what to do with the border. In reality, that could be my border, but I want to do something a little bit more than that, and I have plenty of yarn. Joining this entire thing, use less than one skein of yarn, and I have 6 skeins of yarn to do this, so I'm not going to use all of them, but I'm interested in doing something more. But in joining it, I have these weird, that's not straight, it's kind of lumpy. This one isn't straight. That one is pretty darn straight. This one has a V shape. So I think the first step I'm going to do is use these ends to try to make these joins straighter and flatter before I even go around with the single crochet. So let me try doing that for a couple of them and show you how it goes. So that one already looks better, and I just did pull the yarn to this corner and pull the yarn to that corner, and I think I'm fine. So I think I'm going to use this and I guess weave it in over here and then cut it off and move on to the next one. So this one looks pretty darn good, so I'm going to go back a couple times over it and then weave in the end. So here it's finished. I don't know that it necessarily changed a whole lot. I did weave the end some ways and then got tired and cut it off. So this is a corner of the blanket. So that one's done. I already did this one. You can see where I wove it in on the top. And so now we're on to this join. I don't think I'm going to show all of these, but if I come across some that are kind of dramatically different, I'll pop them in here. Before, after, before, after, before, after. There's the last one. So I finished weaving in all my ends, and so now the next step really is to put that row of single crochet around the entire thing, and then at that point I get to decide what I want to do next. I've looked at several different borders and I want it to be decorative, but I don't want it to be really complicated either, so I don't know. First step, single crochet, or I should say next step, single crochet. So I have finished the single crochet border around the entire blanket and I've started a new row. Let me show you my progress. So this is a single crochet all the way around, and I just started this one, which you can see the difference. It's taller. It's taller, and so it's a row of half double crochet on top of the single crochet, and the idea is I'll go around again and make it so that this braided chain faces forward rather than laying flat, so that'll make a decorative edge. So step 1, have puppy sniff your hand, weave in ends, single crochet, half double crochet, and we'll see where we go from there. So I have an update on the border. I looked up a tutorial and learned the Camel stitch, which is basically you do a half double crochet, and instead of going into the top loops, you go into the third loop behind the half double crochet, and it makes the top of your crochet lean forward so you can see the chain stitch. So let me show you. So here we have single crochet, a row of half double crochet, and then my next row of half double crochet is attached to the back of the front one, and it makes it lean forward. And I really like how it looks with the 2 chains leaning forward, and so I was thinking maybe I'm done. But then I realized that if I don't do anything else than this top row, there's nothing to keep it from just laying down eventually. So I think for my really final stitch on this, I'm going to do a slip stitch row once again behind here. So rather than going through this loop or both of these loops together, I'll be going through this one here, right there. So if you roll it over, it looks like a short, long, short, long. So on all these long ones, I'll be doing a slip stitch. And by doing it behind it, it'll force these things to lean forward and kind of lock it in place. So I think that's going to be my final row. The other nice thing about the slip stitch is it's not going to add a lot of height, because I don't really want this border to be much bigger than this. I don't want it to be huge. But just one little row on top, I think, should finish it off well. Here it is with the slip stitch row. So this is the slip stitch up here. These are the 2 rows standing up nicely, and they won't fall down. I think it looks very nice. It has, you feel it, it's smooth and has a lip to the edge. You can grab onto the edge nicely. And considering how big the squares are, I don't think that the border's too big, which is always nice. So, according to the records, my first crochet video went up on December 28th, 2023. And in that video, I was talking about my Tunisian crochet blanket that I had the idea for. And ta-da! It's done. It's all done. Wes is pointing out that during the process of making this project, I did take an 8-month break when our house needed help and we were living in a rental. I actually took the project with me, but never ended up working on it in the new space. But here it is. Lots of time and energy. It turned out to be a total of 60 squares. And my goal originally was 5 foot by 7 foot. What do you think, honey?
Pretty close.
I think we came pretty close to the intended goal. But every single square represents more learning and exploration of Tunisian crochet. Shows a wide variety of options when you're working in this craft.
You ended up doing about 120, deciding how you like it.
Wes says I did a whole lot more squares than ended up in the blanket because I ended up taking them out for one reason or the other. But here it is in its completedness. The border's all finished like I've been showing in this video. But I think it turned out very nice. I like the color scheme. Look how we put it together. The big question in my mind is, what do I do next? And Wes' suggestion is to take a break and paint something and breathe and don't hop into another project immediately. But the convenience of a project like this is you always know what's next, because it's make another square, learn something new. So I have a desire to make a shawl and Tunisian crochet, but I'm kind of intimidated by the pattern. I definitely have lots of yarn to use, a yarn stash going. This is the yarn that I ended with from this project, so more yarn to add to my stash. I never did get into these 3 skeins that I was concerned about for the border. It turns out that joining and bordering does not take that much yarn. It turns out that at least half of the work I did on the joining and the bordering were slip stitches, which take the least amount of yarn possible. So this is where we're going to call it. And thank you so much for joining me on this long journey. And I look forward to seeing what our next project's going to be. Until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day. Let me know in the comments what projects you're working on, if you've accomplished anything major or minor or small, or just taken one step forward.
Or suggestion.
Yes, and if you have any suggestions for my next project, feel free to add it to the comments. I'll be all ears at this point. So, until next time, feel free to like and subscribe. Bye!